You know, in the world of premium fashion, everything moves at lightning speed. And as a customer, you expect a flawless, absolutely luxurious experience. From the second you browse a collection online to the moment you walk into a store, that feeling of exclusivity is the promise, right? But behind that polished exterior, things aren't always so seamless. For one premium fashion powerhouse, their internal data was in a state of, well, total chaos. It created this huge gap between their brand promise and what was actually happening day to day. And look, their success was undeniable. We're talking about a multi-channel empire. They had their own sophisticated AI-driven website, massive reach on e-commerce giants, and those exclusive placements in high-end retail stores. Each channel was a huge success, but each one was creating its own separate stream of data. Okay, so let's get into the core problem. The data from these different channels spoke completely different languages. I mean, sales data from one partner looked nothing like the logistics data from another. It was like trying to run the United Nations, but with zero translators. Just total confusion. And the consequences of this were severe and very, very real. Just imagine, the season's hottest handbag sells out online, frustrating customers, but at that exact moment, hundreds of those bags are sitting in a warehouse, completely invisible to the e-commerce team. The brand was literally flying blind, leaving a ton of money on the table, and worse, damaging its high-end reputation. So the big question became, how do you take this operational nightmare and actually flip it into a strategic competitive advantage? And that's where Innovatics came in. Now, their strategy wasn't about just patching holes here and there. Nope. It was about completely re-engineering the brand's entire data ecosystem to create one single reliable source of truth for the whole business. This centralized data foundation is really the bedrock of the whole solution. Think of it as this one unified platform where every single piece of information, from sales to logistics to marketing, is all brought together, standardized, and ready to go. Now, how this engine was actually built is pretty fascinating. First, they unified the data pipelines. You can think of these as automated highways for information, which finally put a stop to all the slow, error-prone manual work. Then, the data was modeled the way the business actually thinks, by product, by channel, by customer. And this next part is critical. Definitions were standardized, so a term like order status meant the exact same thing everywhere. Finally, the whole system was automated to run and even heal itself. And here's the modern tech stack that made it all happen. It's a really robust setup, using Snowflake for its raw processing power, Azure for cloud storage and automation, and dbt, the data build tool, to transform all that raw data with incredible discipline. This setup doesn't just make the system powerful today, it makes it scalable for whatever comes next. So what was the real-world impact? Well, the transformation from just fragmented data to unified intelligence was incredibly powerful, turning all that foundational work into tangible business results. First off, by optimizing the data pipelines and using smarter storage, they cut their cloud operational costs by a massive 35%. And get this, that's while processing even more data than before. Second, having access to real-time dashboards meant that complex reports that used to take weeks were now available instantly. This sped up the executive team's decision-making process by an incredible 80%. And with that one unified view, the brand finally had a 360-degree understanding of their entire operation. No more blind spots, no more conflicting reports, just one single source of truth. I mean, this chart really says it all, doesn't it? The time it took to get critical business insights went from a multi-week waiting game to the click of a button. And in the world of fashion, that kind of speed is everything. So the bottom line here is that this was never just about fixing a data problem. It was about building a real, lasting competitive advantage. It allowed the brand to compete on data intelligence, not just on their beautiful designs. And this really brings us to the key takeaway. In an industry that is defined by perfection and its incredible attention to detail, your data absolutely must be as flawless and well-crafted as your products. If you're looking to see how data unification can enable better decisions in your own enterprise, you should really check out the experts at Innovatics. You can visit them at teaminnovatics.com to get started.